So this game was like a console seller for you.
Literally, I sold a console and bought a new one. Yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Millennium Edition, a podcast about video games in the 2000s and late 90s, that turn of the millennium period. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a writer, teacher, and podcaster, and I am here with Gooey. Hi, Gooey.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm Gooey. I'm also part of the Soundstone Network. I host the podcast Flashback 64, where we cover the Nintendo 64 library in chronological order. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And we are also here with Jay. Hi, Jay.
Hi, I'm Idolism J. I'm the riffraff the Soundstone Network found on the side of the road. I YouTuber and longtime fighting game person, writer on the side as well, and very excited to talk about what we're talking about today because I think this goes back for a lot of people, but myself included.
Yeah, these should be some familiar faces. We've had this new show now, and I've been thinking of it as our first Soundstone original, in a sense. This is the first show that's been made specifically for the Soundstone Network, and I thought, like, well, do we want to have new people on these first episodes, or do we want to, like, bring back people that our listeners will be familiar with in new combinations? And I thought, well, let's start with the familiar faces that people are going to know, people that I think our audience likes to hear from, and there'll definitely be new people, and we'll do new stuff with this show too that isn't the same as what other shows are doing. But I thought I'd keep it kind of in the Soundstone family for these first few episodes. And thank you both for being here.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure. And it's your turn in the hot seat, so when I derail this podcast, Gooey doesn't have to sweat under the collar. It's your turn. You can just sit there and enjoy it.
I'm glad to be here on this side of it now with you. It
He doesn't
feels
have to
great, honestly.
Doesn't have to rein me in.
Yeah, I was telling them, so like I student teach right now, and it's like, is this going to be kind of like teaching freshmen again? Is this going to be trying to get freshmen to do their Romeo and Juliet study guides?
We're going to start passing notes in the back of class or whatever. Yeah.
I think as long as you're not on your phones
I'm using
the
the chat
time.
function to talk to Goo and hoping Sean won't see me.
All right, silence them. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm stoked to be on. Like when you first mentioned the show, I was really pumped about it because just because of like the era we're covering on Flashback, like we've gone back and looked at older games and we've jumped like much further to talk about like Wii games and stuff, but we've kind of made a conscious effort to stay at past like or to avoid like the next generation or whatever you want to call it beyond the N64. And so I'm excited about the show because it like kind of gives me the opportunity to explore that era in a safe environment, you know.
Yeah, and I think too, like even if there might be some familiar faces in these first few episodes, there are new guests that are new guests for me, right? Like people might have heard Jay on Flashback before or something, but like I've never interviewed Jay before. I've never had Jay on a show, so it's great to have you. Like I'd never done a podcast with Andrew Elmore. They're going to hear him on the next episode, right? I've never had Fredo on a show before, so it's like these might be new people, or these might be like people that listeners have heard in other shows, but they're new people for me. So it's great to have you all here. And a little preamble, of course, Millennium Edition is a part of the Soundstone Podcast Network, along with my other show, Kirby Conversations, Flashback 64, Darren Hupke's Pixels and Polygons, and Nick McConnell's Instruction Derby. So we encourage people to check out those shows after they're listening to this one. All those links are in the show notes. Now, for this episode, we are talking about Soul Calibur 2, which is one of my favorite games from this generation of video game consoles. It was when I knew I wanted to start the show off with, because I just think there's so much to unpack here. And one thing we're going to try to do with this show too is, while we might be focusing on a particular game in each episode, this is not just the Soul Calibur 2 episode. We're going to find different topics still just kind of related to that general idea of games at the turn of the millennium. And so we might return back to the same games over again. Like this is not meant to be like the be all and end all Soul Calibur 2 episode. And to that end, we're going to have some central questions guiding our conversation. And who knows, we might come back to this game with different central questions some other time. There's a lot here that we could talk about. And rather than trying to cram it all into one show, we'll just focus on a few key things that stand out to us about this game. And that actually segues into something else I wanted to ask too as we get started is just what are your individual histories with Soul Calibur 2 and just the series in general?
Well, for me, it's really tied into the central question, one of them that we're going to discuss, in that I got it because I was a big Legend of Zelda fan as a kid. I got Soul Calibur 2 like because of that, and then I played that a bunch, and then like I said, went away from it. But now whenever I go to an arcade, if they have Soul Calibur there, or Soul Edge, right, is the other one, like
Yeah.
I will
Mhm.
usually try to play that game because of my love for this game. And I've kind of developed like a fondness in general for the series, even though, like, if you were to talk about what happened in, or like what characters are in 4 or 5 or whatever, I couldn't really tell you that, but I am generally a fan of the series, but mainly this game.
I picked it up for the GameCube because at the turn of the millennium, 3D fighters were on fire, and I love fighting games. It was kind of a golden age for the 3D fighter because you end the 90s with Tekken 3, Be Still My Beating Heart, and then you kick
Mhm.
off the 2000s with Tekken Tag, Soul Calibur was in 1999, Soul Calibur 2 is like 2002, VF4 kicks in, and you have your VF4 Evo down the road as well. They were still making Bloody Roar. It was just a wonderful time for 3D fighters, and all of these games are excellente. So
Mhm.
I did get to play it a couple times at the arcade when it was recent, but I picked it up for the GameCube, and I explored every inch of that game during those times.
Mhm. Yeah, similar. I was initially drawn to this game, I believe, because Link was in it. Growing up, we were more of a household that generally like did Nintendo consoles. I had an original PlayStation, but me and my twin brother were more into Nintendo stuff. We read Nintendo Power, that sort of thing. And this game probably appealed to us like because Link was in it. And I hadn't played that many fighting games at the time. Like I had played some Street Fighter before. I really liked Smash Brothers. There were some other ones and I would have gotten this maybe like 7th or 8th grade. I forget exactly when I got it, but I think of it as being a game that I was playing kind of in the transition between like 8th grade and high school. I remember playing it, and maybe my timeline is a little, maybe this was the summer before or something, but I remember it as a game I was playing a lot of during the summer of 2003. And so I think of it as like, oh, that was a time to play a game that felt kind of new and exciting and kind of mature in a way. All these characters with these really rich backstories. I really enjoyed going through. I have a Brady Games guide for it that I think is really well done, and just like enjoying all the art to the game, reading the characters' backstories, and just feeling like this was this complex, sophisticated thing that I really wanted to get into. And I never played it more than just sort of casually with friends or anything, but like enjoyed going through the different modes, learning about the different characters. Still mostly played as Link. It's kind of funny to pick up my old like go to my old like GameCube files now with the version that I grew up with and realized how overwhelmingly more often we played as Link, I think, compared to any of the other characters. And now I enjoy playing as more of a variety of characters, but at the time Link was the main appeal.
That I mean, like, that was the main appeal for me, but I will say everything you said about the game, like, I really felt that way at the time as well, and um I think that says a lot about the game, because like I could have just bought it because it had like this character in it as a gimmick, but like I really did like love exploring all elements of the game. And like I would play it with my siblings, in particular my stepsister, who's just like she's 1 month older than me, and so we were like same age and like relative similar skill level, and we would get like very competitive with it. And that's like not I've never been like a fighting game person, and I never like I didn't stick with it clearly like after that really, but for whatever reason, like for a couple of years, like this game like had a hold on us and we were like really into it. So um it's always stuck out as special to me because of that. Not because I dislike, like I've played plenty of other fighting games and recognize like these are really good, but I think just that like perfect moment of time of like us both liking it and like getting really into it, playing competitively, even with like my younger brother. Um, yeah, I have this is like one of my favorite GameCube games still to this day.
Yeah, same. And just a little like raw facts about, when it came out, its development, that sort of thing. We all agree that this is actually kind of a hard game to find too much development information for, but it is the third game in the series after Soul Blade / Soul Edge, depending on what title you're going for the first one, Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, and then this one comes along. And it feels like part of the methodology with this game was just to keep doing what they were doing because it was working. And Soul Calibur was just such a huge success. It's not trying to fix what isn't broken and just adding more characters, doing different modes, bringing in guest characters, having better graphics, that sort of thing. But they didn't change up the formula too much. It was originally intended to be for the Sega like Naomi arcade board that came out for the Namco System 246 board. And then so it was in arcades and then got ported to the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox home console. I know in the original or Soul Calibur, they were like paid a lot of attention to like how they animated the characters' limbs with their weapons in order to make them like extra realistic. They put a lot of emphasis on how the game looked and trying to make the characters feel like real people, which is something I think they've been very successful with. And I did enjoy this interview that I found on IGN from around the time it was being developed, where they were talking with the producer, Hiroaki Yotoriyama, with questions about the game. And just some of his answers I thought were kind of amusing. They asked him, beyond the wonderful visuals and details of the fighters are their movements. The movements of the characters in Soul Calibur are incredibly fluid and smooth. What kind of techniques did you use to create these effects? Was it keyframing, motion capture, or a combination of both? And additionally, what kind of work did your team have to do with the animation to make the game so pleasing to the eye? And he responds, our team has been devoting a lot of effort in order to achieve the highest quality of motion, character, and background graphics for the best satisfaction for our users. I'm very sorry, but I cannot state the minute details concerning the technology involved in the making of this game and the amount of time it took to achieve its present quality. So his answer is just, I
I
can't
plead
tell
the
you how he
fifth.
made it.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Get me out of this interview.
Don't reveal the secret sauce or
Yeah.
whatever. The game does look like really like even I was just playing it before we recorded now, and people make those posts all the time that like games don't need to look better than X, and this is one of those games to me. Like when every time I start it up, I'm like, wow, like this looks so cool. Like this is the like nicest a game needs to look for me. Like maybe you could get it in a HD or whatever, like would be an improvement, but like otherwise, like the game looks beautiful and like everything looks really nice together, like the characters and the backgrounds and everything. Like it's still to this day blows me away when I play it.
Yeah, the how visually good. I don't know if I want to say anything other than like just the high quality visual standard that Soul Calibur has is a big success point for this series at this point, because Soul Calibur 1 was excellent looking, and then they had the mad scientists somehow make the Dreamcast home port a better version than the arcade.
Yeah.
And that just like the ball is rolling with momentum at that point when you get to just how unbelievably good looking it is on home consoles across I assume it's across all of them. I think this we can say up front that we're all GameCube version people when it comes to this game.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the Xbox or the PS2 versions, but
I
this
did
looked
play it on PS2 as well back in the day, but
Mhm.
my memory of it is so far removed. But
Yeah,
I remember it being comparable, but definitely the GameCube
the GameCube.
is nicer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a stunning looking game because of how fluid it moves. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know what, the graphical fidelity doesn't need to extend that much further than are your like models and textures clear, and is the range of motion and frame rate buttery. Because when you nail those things, it's like, oh my god, this game is phenomenal looking. It's like still phenomenal looking. It's a
Mhm.
great moving game in action.
Yeah, it is. It's weird to say like this is as good as a video game needs to look, but that's kind of how I feel. It's like not to be a luddite or anything, but it's like this is good enough. I mean, not that I don't like modern hyper realistic graphics or whatever, but it's like this is fine, and we did it in 2002. So
Yeah, if I can just propose a question, Sean, you said you played Soul Calibur 4. That was a game you enjoyed frequently, right?
I haven't played 4. I've played 6 a lot.
Okay, I thought you were saying 4, but does a game like Soul Calibur 4 actually look better than this? Because that has like seventh gen sheen on it. You know what I'm talking about?
I actually felt that way when I got those games like later on the cheap. Like I felt like the sheen is there, but also I feel like the aesthetic is more like locked in on this game. And I didn't know if that was just like nostalgia, but I noticed
Mhm.
like even in this game, like all the characters have like, like a colorful like glow around their weapons and stuff. But they like make it so extreme in some of those games where it's like it doesn't have like as to me a like unified vibe to it as much
Mhm.
as this game. That might just be my bias speaking,
Yeah.
but
And this is a lot. I mean, a lot of things can be chalked up to going back to seventh gen games and being like, actually, this looks like crap. This is not a complaint levied solely at the Soul Calibur series, but with so many years of retrospect behind us now, we can look back on a lot of games in this generation and be like, wow, this really was a high point for visuals and clarity and movement, because so many games looked good enough to have a clear aesthetic and have clear texturing and have good looking models, and the consoles ran well enough where they were at buttery smooth 60 for a lot of it. The PlayStation 2 is famous for being like so performant and having so many 60 frame per second games, and sometimes the games in the future don't have that same level of clarity or fluidity that can be found on something like these games back then. And I think Soul Calibur 2 is a great example of that, where it's like, sure, this could be at a higher resolution, I suppose. Do I care? It's going on my CRT, dude. Like,
Mhm.
I even was playing it on Switch, and I
mhm.
had like whatever their CRT filter, and I'm not like a tech person, so I don't know if it's a good CRT filter,
I,
but
I
I was
think
like,
I think the running line is that there's no such thing as a good CRT filter
yeah.
unless you're a freak and you know the good stuff.
Well, to my simple eyes, I was like, this looks cool. Like I felt like it looked cool on the Nintendo Switch, even.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think the Switch 2 is almost like getting a remastered version of the game. It's a remastered version of a game that already looked good, and it's like this looks even more
Mhm.
polished. Like it stands along like modern games just fine. Like it doesn't look exactly like a game that came out in 2026, but it's like it stands along them
Yeah.
perfectly comfortably.
And I should mention that there is the HD version of this game that was released for like PlayStation 4
Mhm.
and Xbox One. I never picked it up myself, but
No Link. What the hell?
I think my
Mhm.
reasons are worse. Where it's like, I'm not picking up no HD remaster of a fighting game. The frames are going to be off. This doesn't work
Yeah.
for me. You know,
Love it.
yeah, that's the real like Luddite stuff. Where it's like, I'm sorry, this is now 4 frames instead of 3 frames. Throwing it in the garbage.
Yeah. I actually think Soul Calibur 6 still holds up pretty well visually too for a game that's from like 8 years ago now. I think it's a nice looking game, but there is something about how good the early Soul Calibur games looked compared to other games of their generation, whereas like Soul Calibur 6 just kind of looks like a game that came out in 2018, where it's like a good looking game that came out in 2018, but it
Not
doesn't have that
impressed.
same
Yeah.
wow factor when there are like other games that are also very good looking 2018 games that just also came out then.
Yeah, I'd actually give it to Soul Calibur 6. The biggest thing that I think visually stands out for that game is the fact that like when you have character portraits in that game, there's this flourishing iconography behind them that makes them stand out more than just a regular like character reference render would. That's like the big visual thing I think about when I think of Soul Calibur 6, because otherwise it just looks like fighting game of the era dot wave. And that's fine. It's a great looking game, but like, does it really stand out the same way that this does? I don't know. I can't say that for certain, but there's also nostalgia, so gotta weigh the scales.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the 1999 like original Soul Calibur game almost feels like a game from the future.
Yeah.
It's like if you're playing the Nintendo 64 or something in 1999, and like the Nintendo 64 is great. Like that's no shade to the Nintendo 64. Like old
I'm
polygonal
desperate for a
graphics.
good fighting game on there, though. I'll tell you.
I find like the old polygonal graphics very charming and everything, but it doesn't feel like this is just. It almost feels more removed than just like one console generation. It feels like this is a game that came out like 10 years later or
Yeah.
something. And I didn't play it at the time. Like I was familiar with the game existing, but I didn't play it myself for the first time until like a few years ago when I got a Dreamcast for the first time. And I had to remind myself, it's like, oh yeah, games could look like this in 1999. Like this just has aged so well, and just how mind-blowing that must have been at the time, because I'm pretty impressed by it now, and it's not 1999 anymore.
You know where that really stands out? I know graphics really wasn't part of the central thesis of this, but Sean, we did that Soundstone Summit where we talked about best like intros of games, and I wasn't on your level of thinking of just like the intro like video for a game, but this game has an incredible like intro video that like it looks so good, and that's like I'll now just start the game and like watch it and be like,
Yeah.
gets me so hyped up.
The intro won a BAFTA.
It did?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Oh my god.
That's wild. Wow.
I mean, props, but like, what?
Soul Calibur 2 won the BAFTA Games Award for Best Animation or Intro in 2004.
It's deserved.
Yeah.
It's deserved.
Hell yeah. Go off.
And then, yeah, just some other like details. I'll read off some of the main people involved with the game. So the directors, we have Jin Okubo and Toshitaka Tezuka. The producer is Hiroaki Yotoriyama, who I mentioned before with the interview. The artist is Takuji Kawano, and the writer is Yoshihiro Nakagawa. I also want to read another excerpt from that interview that I thought was amusing too. So I think this will tie us back more to the central questions I wanted to cover. So they say, why bring Soul Calibur 2? This is IGN talking to the producer. Why bring Soul Calibur 2 to so many home consoles? Would you have released the original on multiple consoles if there were others besides the Dreamcast that could handle the graphic demands? And he responds, as a developer in the entertainment business, we thought it was natural to provide high-quality video game contents to many consumers. That is why we expanded our realms to a multi-platform perspective. Which is just the most like businessy businessman talking business answer he could have given.
This interview could have been an email.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we are here talking about the quality contents, the high quality video game content that is Soul Calibur 2.
I love me some high quality video game content.
Yeah.
So I appreciate them bringing
My
it.
shareholders love high quality video game content.
And the shareholders were probably very happy that it sold like 1 million copies for the GameCube, which made up about a third of its total sales, it looks like, which is pretty impressive considering the GameCube was not the best-selling console of that generation. Like,
heck no.
More than 100 million PlayStation were sold beyond what the GameCube sold, and yet proportionally the GameCube version of this game sold so well. And that is probably partially why it's kind of remembered maybe most as a GameCube game, even if it had the other versions, just because the Link version stood out so much, and that was the one that got the most attention.
Well, that was so crucial for me. So this is kind of an embarrassing story, like thinking about my I might have been like just turning 13. It's 2000 anyway. At that time, my parents had been divorced, and my brother and I lived set like with one parent and the other, and he had a GameCube and I got a PS2. I almost became a PlayStation kid, like from the N64 to PS2, because I wanted to play like Grand Theft Auto or whatever. Uh, and he had I played Wind Waker with him when we'd on our weekends together or whatever, and it was I'm a big Zelda fan, but I was like, great, I played it. But then this comes out and I see there's Link in it, and I'm stupid. I just tell my parents I want this game, and they go get it for me on PS2, and I load up and there's this guy Heihachi. I'm like, who is this guy? Now obviously like I know who that is. But this is so embarrassing. But like after that, I got rid of my PS2 and got a GameCube so I could have it and have my copy of it and play as Link. And from there on, I was GameCube the rest of that console, and I was just Nintendo. I mean, I've had other consoles, but like Nintendo has remained my primary. And that was when I really learned the lesson that Nintendo has like hammered into its fans, where it's like, if you want to play Zelda, you have to have our thing. And that's how, that's the like prime example of how they've got me, and they've always had me since. And what can I do about it?
Yeah. So this game was like a console seller for you.
Literally, I sold a console and bought a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. We've kind of joked about, like, we're all the GameCube versions here, but like it is kind of hard to verbalize how important Link in this game was across all of versions of Soul Calibur 2, not just for the GameCube, because not only is it phenomenally impressive that they said we're going to do all three consoles of this generation, each one's getting their own unique guest character. One of them is a Nintendo character. Like
Yes.
it's you don't see that really before or since outside of a Smash Bros. So the idea that
Mhm.
Namco was able to have a Nintendo license like IP character and put him in their game it's groundbreaking in a way that Heihachi in this game is cool, but it's a Namco character in a Namco game. Like, seeing Heihachi is not that impressive. Spawn isn't also ran. I don't think anyone really cared about Spawn in the Xbox version.
Especially because there was like that other character designed by McFarlane. Astaroth, right? Was designed by
Necrid.
Necrid is the
Oh,
other.
Necrid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Necrid's the other one.
And then like Yoshimitsu, right? He's originally from Tekken, right?
Exactly. Yoshimitsu's from Tekken, so he kind of like fell into Soul Calibur because he's the one weapons user from Tekken, but he gets a double dip on both. So it was just kind of felt like a natural extension. But then you get to the GameCube and it's like, we have Link in this game. Link isn't in fighting games. He's not from fighting games. He's in Smash Bros. Because he's a Nintendo character with capital N Nintendo character. But we have Link as a playable character. Oh, and by the way, we made him incredibly busted.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, he's just ridiculously powerful in that game.
And I think that brings us to some of the core questions that we wanted to focus this episode on. One was talking about the guest characters in this game and how they were such a big deal and so crucial to the appeal and lasting legacy of this game. And we'll start with that one. And then the other topic is that you mentioned, Jay, is like where this game fits into the full series of Soul Calibur games, and like the competitive scene and why that still endures. Is that kind of what you were?
Yeah, pretty much.
Want to focus on too?
Why is this still the Soul Calibur?
Yeah. So then rewinding back to Link, I had heard, and like what I've read and what I've seen from like watching competitive play, is that Link actually isn't that high tier in this game. And like I'm no expert, but like I had read that he's sort of like he has like all these like interesting gimmicks, but he's kind of not particularly good at any one thing. And that's why in like competitive tournament play, you don't see people picking him, is because he's actually more kind of like a sort of lower mid tier. But I don't know, at the time he felt really good, like back in the day. But maybe people sort of figured out like, oh, like he's got projectiles that other characters don't have, but they're kind of linear. And he's got interesting like tricks up his sleeve, but they're sort of slow. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I actually never really see people playing as Link when I watch tournaments of this game.
It's because for tournament level play, the guest characters would be banned. I'm almost certain that across all tournament level play, like guest characters would be not selectable, just because it would be dependent on what version you're playing.
Mm.
And for tournament level play, I don't think you're playing the GameCube version.
True. Yeah, I don't know. When I was looking at tier lists, and like a lot of tier lists online had him pretty low too, but I don't know,
I
maybe.
wouldn't doubt that. It's more of
Mhm.
like casually for his power level is like a casual thing because he has projectiles in a game that does typically not.
Mhm.
Of note, his A throw can ring you out from here to Arizona. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
incredible for ring outs. In a way that that
Mm.
does fall off in that risk reward falls off in a competitive sense. But like he is kind of casually juiced in a
Yeah,
way.
That makes
yeah. That's a
sense.
good way to
Like,
think about it.
Yeah. And this will be something we kind of maybe bring up during the second question, but there are attributes to this game competitively that shift what makes a character strong in Soul Calibur 2 beyond just are they strong. It's a difference. You're solving a different question.
Mhm.
I feel like that him being in this, you kind of talked about how Nintendo doesn't really do that, and like now they've gone a little bit, like they've started to dabble. There's like your cadence of Hyrule, your Hyrule Warriors type stuff, but there was like a long gap where like this was the one thing, and I think it did a lot to sort of build the mythos or whatever, like the aura of Link and Link in this game, particularly because there was a desire at this time to see the Link that people had like kind of imagined in their heads from Ocarina of Time like get a glow up
Mhm.
on the new console, but not like the Toon Link style, like
Well,
our mature Link.
the Expo 2000 link.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I don't think
That's a
that's the
good
exact
point.
name. I don't think that's the exact name of that conference, but like
The
when the
Space World?
game
Space
Space
World,
World,
yeah.
yeah, it was the Space World link when they had the tech demo of like adult Link fighting Ganondorf, and that's kind of famously a pain point for Legend of Zelda fans in that age. The GameCube was revealed with this tech demo showing an adult Link fighting Ganondorf, and next thing you got was Wind Waker, which is
Mhm.
about as far on the other side of the spectrum as possible.
Yeah, so this was like delivering in that regard. And like you had not only that, but like the weapon you could unlock weapons, like you were seeing some of these weapons from Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. You had stuff from the original game and A Link to the Past, and like seeing it now on this new generation of hardware, it was like this is um Sean, you kind of mentioned it, like this is like you get to feel like kind of mature playing this game, and I think me playing this at like 12, 13, or whatever, like that did feel like I liked Wind Waker at the time even too, so I didn't really I was pretty young, I didn't have that sort of like pain point with it, but I did on the flip side at the time get the like, ooh, I am kind of playing like I'm getting to play as my character for my series, but I'm like, this is kind of like a teen thing. Like I'm kind of cool playing this.
This game's definitely a little bit more like hard teen. You know,
Mhm.
it's not bloody, but it is some violence and some boobs. And so seeing Link there was a little bit
Yeah.
anachronistic to what a normal Nintendo person would probably be ready for.
Yeah, it was interesting when they were showing off the Nintendo Classics GameCube library for the Switch 2, and they like wanted to show like, "Oh, Link's in this game." And I could tell they went around the character select screen and like deliberately dodged certain characters when they were showing
Ooh.
their like sample matches. You never saw certain characters. You just saw Link and a few select ones that they wanted to put in the demo. But yeah, I mean there's some interesting contrast of tone here. I don't know that when I was playing it, it was a sense of like I feel cool playing it or like, oh, I feel so mature. But it was like it just felt like, ooh, this is like not what I've been playing a lot of so far. Like this feels kind of like sophisticated in a different way. Like it is kind of
Mm-hmm.
for an old like it did have the sense of like I feel like I'm kind of growing up and I'm playing games now that are for a different audience. And it doesn't mean that I lost interest in what I had previously been playing. It was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of new. This is going to be sort of a new tone of video game that I might be playing, like new styles, new aesthetic decisions. It did feel like a shift.
I can understand that too. I definitely was just like at that
Mhm.
age, I was super insecure about like being into stuff that is like for kids, but yet I also loved like Nintendo and Zelda in particular. So it was always like a, like like
Mhm.
Twilight Princess was the answer. That
Mhm.
T-rated game was the answer for me at that time. Whereas like now I don't, I'm happy to play whatever. But I was
Mhm.
this definitely fed that for me.
Well, it
Mhm.
was also just in the culture that this was, yeah, post N64. Nintendo was the kiddie console, for children.
Mhm.
Why you had to start dealing with Halo on the Xbox as like the mature games for mature gamers stuff. So there was a culture, and kind of a stereotype of Nintendo specifically as being like the kiddie games. You spent a lot of the N64 being like, "Where's our M-rated games?" And that did not go away once you got to the GameCube.
Mhm.
That's why this was a big game, Twilight Princess, and like I love, Resident Evil, the Resident Evil
Oh
games
yeah.
that they put on GameCube, like were like I was like, yes, like I can be cool. I can play like games for like I'm thinking adults, but these are like,
Yeah.
for teens and stuff,
Yeah.
or
It,
whoever, but
yeah,
that
it was the GameCube growing up. The Nintendo kind of grew up with the GameCube and finally addressed that they had like an aging market that wanted to play something a little bit more mature. Um,
mhm.
and I think a lot of that can be seen here with Link showing up in a relatively violent, not bloody, but Link wasn't fighting white-haired dominatrixes in any of his games up till now.
Yeah.
It gets close a couple times, but
They
yeah.
were cut for Wind Waker.
Yeah. You can draw a line from Impa to Ivy. It's not a good line, but you can draw a line.
I think too that I probably would have like I'm very into fighting games now, but at the time, like I enjoyed them, like dabbling in them once in a while. But part of that was just because there weren't a lot of fighting games coming to the consoles that I had, and there were ones on like PlayStation, but I never got like as much into that library. Like I said, we were more of a Nintendo console household, and having this come along was like, oh, this is really fun. And I didn't necessarily have access to a lot of other games that were like it on the GameCube. GameCube had more offerings than like the Nintendo 64 had, but it was a new genre coming along too that I
Mhm.
like had more access to. And I sometimes wonder, it's like, well, maybe if I had been more of a PlayStation person growing up or something, maybe I would have gotten into fighting games sooner. But at the time, I just had these passing collisions with fighting games like along the way here and there throughout my childhood until like
Mhm.
eventually playing more things as an adult.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
you
definitely
you would
feel
have,
that.
you would have, by the way. You just would have. Simply put, you would have. You
Yeah.
would not have been able to. No one was safe from the gravitational pull that was Tekken Tag Tournament and Tekken 3.
I really appreciate how faithful Link is too. You can tell he's done with just painstaking care. I don't know if people are you. Well, I'm assuming Jay. I'm assuming you're familiar with Air Geese,
Yes.
a fighting game, right? Goo, do you know what Air Geese is?
I'm
God bless
familiar.
God bless the ring.
Yeah,
I've never played it or anything, but I'm sort of familiar with it.
it's an early 3D fighting game that was on the
Mm,
PlayStation and had a bunch of Final Fantasy VII characters as guest characters, and
right.
it's cool to be
Okay.
able to play as them. But there's not like they're not hugely particular, or there's not like things that are like really specific about them that really feel like, wow, they really brought this character to life. Like they're done well enough, but Cloud kind of just comes across as a guy with a sword, and he doesn't seem like super different from how Sephiroth feels. And
Sephiroth's just a guy with a bigger sword.
yeah. And like he's got this sort of meteor attack he can do, and Cloud can throw this like energy projectile, and like Tifa's there and she's got martial arts and can throw an energy projectile and stuff. Like it's a decent enough game and it's fun to have them there. But you wouldn't feel like, wow, they just fully captured all these different dimensions to these characters. It's they're there as
Hmm.
kind of fun cameos.
They fit into Air Guys in a way where Soul Calibur fits Link, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and yet there's, like, not a huge they don't have, like, a huge move list necessarily, and none of the characters really do in that game, but they're at least there, and yet I feel like with Link and Soul Calibur 2, it's like, he's painstakingly designed to have so many references to different things, so many different weapons he can use that are callbacks to other games. Like, he even has a throw where he pushes you like you're a block. Like, there are just so many little things that they did that were like, what are all the things Link does? Let's work this into a move. Let's work this into a move. And I think that's also why he works so well too.
Yeah, the crucial ones, I think it works too. Like for me, it made sense. This is more the game overall, but it made sense to me going from someone who played like other Zelda games where your primary things like combat in those games is like you do a horizontal attack or you do a vertical attack. And so I think that made it easy to transfer a lot of stuff with Link, like to have it make sense. And like, yeah, it has some of his most like being able to do a spin attack is obviously crucial. Also the downward thrust, which
Yeah.
made its way from Zelda 2 to Smash. That's like, to me, that's like a canonical like Link move, and it's like one of my number one moves to do in this game.
It's a really, really like core identity to Link these days is like the jumping downward smash.
It's so satisfying. Yeah. So it really does feel like I feel like I am playing as Link when I play as him. They got all his like the voice and everything too. So perfect.
Yeah, all the things you would want to do as Link in a fighting game. It's like, oh, you want to throw bombs? He can throw bombs. Oh, the
Yep.
boomerang? He's got the boomerang too. He's got arrows, he's got the spin attack. He can ride you like a horse. Like, he can do all sorts of things.
Yeah, that's a funny grab.
Hit you on the back. Yeah. The voice is so perfect too, because like you would think like how do we adapt this character who just grunts and yells in the game to this game? And they're like, well, that's all he's gonna do. And that's like one of my favorite things to do is like make him yell before a fight, how you can like press A and the character will say something and Link just goes like, ah. I love that. I guess one other I will say, just in this similar realm, is that it does make one thing, because I would always play through arcade as Link. You get to like, everyone has their like destined battle where like they face off with a character and they exchange words. Link doesn't say anything. And I've always like that felt like this scene, granted they're just kind of mushing two characters together. And I was like, this scene feels awkward. But then when I've played as other characters, I realized like, oh, they do kind of exchange dialogue, even if it doesn't really feel like, oh, this is like some epic destined battle. It just feels like them kind of saying a taunt. So I don't know. I think it's funny that like even in that moment, Link's just kind of like, do 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 do.
Yeah, so looking at the other characters then, I don't know how much experience you have with Heihachi in Soul Calibur 2J, but it sounds like Gui, like you had a taste of him and immediately rejected him. But how do you
Not
both feel
actually.
about Heihachi in this game? Is it Heihachi or Heihachi?
Heihachi, I think. But
Heihachi, okay.
We're English speakers addressing a different language, so we're not gonna, we don't know the vowel differences. It would be, I'd have to think about it, but yeah, it should be Heihachi. My Japanese is very bad.
I actually remember thinking at the time, like I actually did, like I thought the character was cool. I especially thought like what appealed to me about the game was that it was like they all had these unique weapons, but I thought it was cool that like he was just like no weapons, like just you got, it would be like his arm bands were what you were changing. And I actually thought that was kind of unique. And I remember even at the time, like I never had played as Spawn, but I just remember thinking that was a cool concept even at that age. Like I didn't have like an actual like console war mentality about it or anything, even though there were other things I was probably subconsciously anxious about in regards to the console wars. But I actually remember thinking like how cool that was, and it like added this extra layer of like not mystery but like intrigue to like the Xbox version. Like, oh, I wonder if I'll ever like see that version and play, because I didn't really know many people who had an Xbox who would also be into Soul Calibur. So like I was always like, oh, I wonder if I'll ever see that. Like that sounds cool. Like, oh, I wish the characters could like, I wish I could like fight him as Link,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. I still to this day think it's pretty cool, even if Link is to me the standout character.
Yeah, I think it's so important to the success of this game the way the guest characters across all three consoles defined them. 'Cause, they're on the cover of each version. Like this was a
Sick
huge,
cover too.
yeah, sick cover, like iconic cover.
Mhm.
Um, but like this is such a defining aspect to the game is that every version on a different console got a different character, and so you were playing only one of these three guest characters, and there's in the back of your mind you're like, what do these other characters play like? Because it's in the air that like every console gets a different character, and they're framed as important. Link is obviously the standout, but Heihachi's a Tekken guy for the PlayStation console, and then Spawn is just kind of cool, but he's not Master Chief. You'd have to wait till Dead or Alive 4 to play as a Master Chief in a fighting game. But like there was this like curiosity in the air back then of like, whoa, what did these other guest characters play like on these other consoles? Because I can't know. I don't get to know what that is.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, it's almost this like Pokemon-esque thing, right? Where there's the different versions, but there's no way to like trade Spawn to your GameCube version.
No.
He's gonna be locked there.
I actually thought that was like it was like less cool in some of the future games where it was like yeah they'd still have like console like I remember there was like the Star Wars one,
Yeah.
but to me because they were from the same like universe it made it feel like less cool. Like I loved that it was like the Nintendo guy showing up to the Nintendo game and not really the Xbox guy, but it felt like like they had their teams, and
Hmm.
I just thought that was cool. Where it was like, oh yeah, like Yoda's on this one. I immediately, I feel like if the next game had better guest characters, I probably would have stuck with it.
Yeah,
Maybe a
because
different Zelda character,
there
different
weren't
Nintendo
any guest
character.
characters for Soul Calibur 3 because that was just exclusive to PlayStation 2, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay. Then
and
yeah,
then
definitely
you
not.
had the Star Wars characters for 4, which honestly felt kind of dumpy and like that just felt weird. I don't know. I didn't
I don't
like.
want to play as
I don't
Yoda.
want
I
to play as
don't think
Yoda. I don't want to play as Yoda. I want to play as Star Wars characters. Even back then, like Star Wars was a little gauche to be like, okay, it's Star Wars showing up in
that.
my medieval fighter.
Yeah,
There were no guest characters for 5, and then
Wasn't the which one had the Assassin's Creed guy?
oh, that's right, 5 had the Assassin's Creed guy. You know what? I backpedaled that. Yep,
yeah.
SEO was in 5. I forgot. And I forgot about that because it's cringe and lame, and I don't care. And
It
then
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then 6 has Geralt from Witcher series,
that's
Yeah,
kind of
which is
cool.
fine. I think that's actually a pretty good fit.
yeah.
Um,
It has 2B from
Everything's
Nier
got 2B.
Automata. Yeah, everything's got
I
2B.
can pull open my wallet and 2B will show up.
Yeah.
Um,
And Maru from Samurai Showdown
oh god, yeah, Hamaru was in
is
there.
in
Jeez,
there.
that's right. I kind of stopped paying attention to 6 pretty fast. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um,
And
but
then Kratos,
yeah,
Kratos shows up in one of the handheld
the
ones.
handheld one, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and also Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia, is that correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's also in one of them.
I've never even seen that, and I need to see it because it's like the art style of Tales of Symphonia does not seem like it would immediately
Hmm.
backport into Soul Calibur very well.
It's one that's more of an adventure game too, so the mechanics are just different overall.
Yeah, but like
I haven't played it, but
yeah, the exercise here is just like, okay, well, all these guest characters, are they sparking joy the same way that this kind of tribalistic guest character frenzy in the second game really really hit for people? And the answer is no. I don't think
mhm,
anyone cares to the same degree because there is that tribalism to the console war. Even if you're not being framing it as a console war, there is a drawing of the battle lines to some degree of each version has an important character. You can have one of these characters, but you don't get access to the other two. And that is such a new and novel and fresh idea at that time that I think it's so important to the success of this game in a way that guest characters, which are very in vogue for the past decade or so in fighting games, have not
mhm.
sparked since. The guest characters are now kind of gauche as well. They're passe. They're a little, a little cringe now, just seeing guest characters show up so frequently. But like the last time that there was a true frenzy about a guest character would have been like Tekken 7 when Negan showed up, because that was kind of really out of left
Yeah.
field and they did a really, really good job with him. But outside of that, there hasn't been that sort of importance that guest characters have brought since Soul Calibur 2. Like it's such a core identity to how this game's success is defined, because it told you you can have one cool thing, but there's two other cool things out there that you can't have. There's no unlock, there's no purchase. You just can't have them.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's only one guest character then for each game, right? It makes it seem special. Like, okay, they're the guest, but it's not like the roster is just filled with all these other people. And I think guest characters are still fun, and like I still get excited to see certain characters show up in games and go, "Oh, that's fun." But it doesn't hit that same way when they kind of dilute the impact of the guest character by having like 4 or 5 different guest characters, or or you have ones that are just kind of like pretty anticipated, like seeing Terry and Mai show up in Street Fighter or something. Like it's nice to have them there, but it also doesn't seem like really unexpected.
Yeah, the specialness is completely worn off. Like the bloom is off the rose on how special guest
Mhm.
characters feel, because every single stinking game nowadays has guest characters, and multiple of them sometimes, oftentimes. So like it's just now, it feels like genre convention. It just feels like
Mm.
normalcy, in a way that at the time for Soul Calibur 2, this was groundbreaking. Like they
Mhm.
really, it's not only that like they smashed it out of the park with the guest characters, but it was so fresh of an idea.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Link might be the best guest character of all time
I
for a fighting
I'd
game.
instantly
Like
agree.
at least
I
at least my
instantly agree.
favorite.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, someone who bought a console for it. I can't argue with
Yeah,
that.
I can't even, off the top of my head, I can't think of a better guest character inclusion than Link in Soul Calibur 2, just because it was so important. It was so rarefied to see a Nintendo character show up in a mature-esque fighting game. There's just really never been anything like that since, with
Mhm.
maybe the importance of Negan in Soul Calibur's, not Soul, Tekken 7 being like a close runner-up. But like even then, he does not have a shine on seeing Link in this game.
Mhm. Yeah, I still get pretty interested in like the Smash Brothers reveals and stuff like that, but that's a sort of a
Mm.
separate thing where that's like
Yeah,
part of that game to have guest characters. So it's really exciting to get Banjo and Kazooie in that game or something, but it means something different. Whereas like
It's
if
like
we
who's
look at
getting
like
inducted into the Nintendo Hall of Fame,
pretty much.
yeah.
basically.
Even when Sora was revealed, which was a huge deal for Smash Brothers, it's not like there wasn't already a clamoring or expectation for Sora in the air by then.
Mhm.
Mm.
So yeah, like it might be subjective who the best guest characters of all time, but at least in terms of like most successful and most impactful for the system that the game released on itself, like it's probably Link, right? I don't know that anyone would really compare to that.
I'm gonna stick with Booger Man on Clay
Mhm.
Fighter
Oh yeah, sorry.
63 and a
True.
third.
They got Booger
Close
Man,
second.
and they got Earthworm Jim.
And Earthworm
I don't know what
Jim.
I'm talking about.
I do want to imagine like different consoles getting different ones where it's like, well, they have Booker Man, but they only have him. Whereas the other console can't play as Booker
do,
Man that one because they've got Earthworm Jim.
do you think they could spark any interest in that sort of thing in a new Soul Calibur if they were strict about it? Like, there's a Nintendo exclusive, there's a PlayStation exclusive, and if Xbox still exists, if there's an
Mhm.
Xbox exclusive, like even if it was Link again, because I feel like to a lot of people I know, maybe it's because I'm in the Zelda world, like that's still how they even know. They just know the series because it was like, oh, they had that one game with Link in it, and they would maybe Link is not as unique anymore because there are like Hyrule Warriors and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like if Soul Calibur 7 was like, here's console exclusive guest characters, like I feel like that could maybe
I think
get some buzz.
I think it'd work again in an instant, because it's been
Mhm.
20 plus years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like maybe not the same, like I don't think you need to bring Spawn back, but
No.
I feel like Link is a good, maybe even get someone better for the PlayStation side of things. No offense to, like, I like Heihachi, but
Finally, it's his time, and this joke's not gonna land for any of you guys. It's time for Kermit with 2 samurai swords smoking a blunt.
no, no idea, but I
It,
would be
it's
down
a
with
joke about a guest character from Tekken 7. There's like they made a fake guest character announcement with like a Kermit Muppet with 2 samurai swords smoking a blunt. And it got posted all the time because Tekken 7 had
that.
way too many guest characters. It was like posted a lot during the time where like Noctis came out because it was getting a little silly at that point.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
like
I liked playing as Noctis
he's
in Tekken 7.
he's fine. It's just again like
Yeah,
the
there were a lot
Tekken
of guest
Tekken
characters.
7 was where like it became like epidemic. Like we have too many
Yeah.
guest characters, which is why
Mhm.
we need Kermit with 2 samurai swords smoking a blunt.
Well, originally Heihachi was going to be Cloud. He was the one they originally had in mind, and like
Oh,
the
that
deal
would have
was even the deal had
That
like I
would have
think
turned the
that
started,
tide.
would have
and then
turned
it
the
just
yeah.
like it just had never come together. So I do think that like Soul Calibur 7 crossed with Final Fantasy 7 feels like a natural fit with the two sevens. If you were a PlayStation exclusive and you got Cloud in that game, and they did like someone else for the Switch 2 version or something, like I think that would definitely be successful. I would want to see it.
I'd agree.
Yeah. You'd have to go master. Well, I wonder why, like, at the time Spawn was the choice. Like, was Halo had only been out for like
It's just too
w-
fresh. I think I don't think they would have been
two,
able to lock it down.
Yeah.
there wasn't like an Xbox character
No,
at that
not
time.
Blinks. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was because from what I was looking into, they were talking with Todd McFarlane about making a Spawn video game. And talking about making a game around Spawn turned into, oh, well, maybe you could make the Soul Calibur toys too, because they like also made toys. And then it
Mm.
turned into, oh, well, maybe you could make like an original character for the game. And that's where like Necrid came from. And it's like, well, why don't we just put Spawn in it now too? Like, or he might have requested Spawn to be in if he was going to do his own character or something. But it started as like a, let's make a Spawn video game, turned into, well, could you also do the toys for this? And then turned into him just
Oh,
bringing his
okay.
It
characters
makes
into the
sense.
game as guest characters.
Kind of just makes sense.
And he doesn't have his cape. And I think that's for animation reasons. I'm not sure, but I saw like an interview with him where he was talking about how like video games are different from comics and how like in a comic you can like put a character into a pose and you could see their cape sweeping around them, but you don't really have to think about the physics of
Yeah.
that. And then when you see the character in motion, you have to think more about that. And
They
he
had
didn't
other
explicitly
physics to
say,
consider.
yeah. Imagine him there and the physics of the cape are just totally off and just
Yeah, because like
floating around him.
Cervantes has a cape, but it's a much more constrained, like smaller
Yeah.
cape. It's not the Spawn cape. You just can't do that.
So he doesn't
It would
outright
affect the
say,
It would affect the clarity way too much.
yeah, he just covers the battlefield in his billowing cape. But yeah, he didn't outright say we didn't know how to animate the cape for this game, but I kind of inferred like, okay, that was maybe a reason because he is conspicuously capeless.
He kind of looks nude. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I didn't know
He looks mad
100%.
naked without his cape.
Yeah. There is a like a modded version where they try to put all the guest characters in the same game, and for some reason, due to certain things with the character models, like they use Voldo's character model for and like put Spawn on top of it, and that is an interesting
Oh,
choice. Very-
Whatever works.
I love that.
Well, should we? I know that we're already like pretty well into recording. Before we go, Jay, do you want to make sure we touch on then the competitive health of this game?
Yeah, I can't say for certain. I know we need to kind of wrap up here, but I can't say for certain. Competitively, Soul Calibur has had like some ebbs and flows over the years, but 2 is known to be like the one that people played the most back then. And tragically, as the series went on, the competitive health of Soul Calibur really never sparked again. I played a lot of 5 competitively. 6 had an attempt at competitive runs, but without good internet, netcode, it was never going to live that way. And so because of that, you kind of run into an issue where like 2 is the one that people play competitively, but because there isn't a good online outlet for it, it is kind of a relic of the past. But
Mhm.
because of a couple of things I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, the way you think about Soul Calibur 2 competitively determines character strength in a different way. There is kind of a very famous glitch with Soul Calibur 2 called like GI2G, and that is when you guard impact in this game, it puts you in a state where you are kind of punishable, but you can guard impact back. That's your response. You're really your only response. So the idea is like if someone attacks you and you guard impact them, then you play like a little bit of a guessing game of like, well, do I attack them and have them guard impact me back, or do I pause and they try to guard impact and I punish them for doing that? In Soul Calibur 2, the GI2G glitch is that when you get guard impacted, you can still press 2 and guard 2G and you can still block, which this turns it into a 50-50 where now you can stand guard after being GI'd, and characters who have great ways to get around stand guard, mainly strong lows and throws, they are the ones that are the most powerful because they now have a distinctive advantage in this state. So that's kind of like the big glitch that allows this game to like not function, but like that's kind of like the competitive sauce that cooks the meal. If yeah, I can be food analogist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I know with Soul Calibur 6, and I think Soul Calibur 6 is a very fun game. It's my favorite of the series, but I know people didn't love the reversal edge, where it was kind of like this rock, paper, scissors thing they
It's awful. I
introduced
hate it.
to. I've heard that it got kind of fixed or something. I don't know. I think that like by the time I got to the game, like they had kind of worked out some things. I know it's still like there and feels like it doesn't really need to be there. But I know people really appreciate how refined Soul Calibur 2 is, and it's really kind of there's not a ton of different systems in play. You're really relying on a lot of just fundamental systems.
It's Soul Calibur as Soul Calibur at the end of the day. That's kind of what makes the game work. Is you have your 8-way run, you have your horizontals, you have your verticals. It's kind of the base of what makes that game good. And because of things like GI2G and step guard, you have a bit more sauce to sparkle on top of it. That you can't have the greatest competitive scene because of the archaicness of how old the game is, but it is the one that is held in the highest regard. I'll say that much.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's nice to have it on the Switch too now.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I was loving playing through it. I love that. Like, I do like that it's like almost like a perfect storm where it endures like competitively or like in that sort of mechanic way for those people, but then like for a ton of people, it is just because it's like, oh, we played it a ton because it had Link.
Yeah, well, there's definitely more I think we could dig into in future episodes about the competitive scene. I'd like to reach out to people in that space too and hear about the game from them as well. But I think we'll wrap it up there. This has been a really full conversation, I think, particularly about the guest characters, but I'm glad we got to touch on some other parts of the game along the way too. This has been Millennium Edition. It's not the first one we've recorded actually, but it's the one that we're counting as the pilot. So thank you both for being here. Again, I'm Sean Douglas. I've been here with Gooey and Jay. Thank you all for listening. Bye.
Cool.
Millennium Edition is an original podcast from the Soundstone Podcast Network. It is created and produced by me, Sean Douglas, and co-produced by Gooey Fame and Darren Hupke. Our show art is by Andrew Elmore, and our theme music is by Duncan Pixel T. Smith. We invite you to follow us online at the links in the show notes, and you can reach out to the show at soundstonenetwork@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this episode, we hope you'll consider following us in your podcast player and leaving a positive review. Those reviews do go a long way in helping more people discover the show. For more great video game history podcasts, check out our other network shows, Pixels and Polygons, Flashback 64, Instruction Derby, and Kirby Conversations. We'll be back with another episode of Millennium Edition again soon, and thanks for listening.
Over already?